Hello, my name is Cesar, and I'm going to tell you about the methodology we have followed to identify the three best countries for this project. First, we have listed all the risks that might have a potential impact in the project and given a weight according to the importance to each one of them. Let's see the example of Mexico. From the risk room, we have taken values according to its current relevance and the trends during the last 7 years. With that, we have calculated the score, which in the case of Mexico is 44.7. We have calculated the scores for each one of the potential markets and found out that Brazil, Mexico, and Uruguay are the best countries for the project because they show a lower risk. We have also calculated the scores for the existing markets in Europe, as well as the total average, the average in Western Europe, and the average in East Europe. Here, you can see a more visual comparison of the risk in the potential markets against those in the existing markets. Now, Rohan is going to walk you through the key risks.
Thanks, Asier. We will now move on to identifying the key risks involved in these three markets based on our model. Looking across all the risks across the three markets, 4 risks clearly stand out to us. They are burden of government regulation, extent of taxation, extent of market dominance, and lastly, risk of state failure. The last one, mainly risk of state failure, we believe falls outside the purview of business, and thus we will mainly focus our following analysis and suggestions on the 3 risks. Eduardo will now take you through our views on mitigating each of these risks separately. Thank you.
Thank you, Rohan. Moving on, we will look into recommendations that will help us mitigate each one of the key risks. The first 2 risks we take a look into are managing government regulations and taxation, which in our opinion are very symmetrical. Our first step will be to partner up with local industry associations as well as chambers of commerce. Both can provide valuable guidance into how to adapt their global strategy to local business practices and rules. A second step would be to rely on talent coming from each one of the countries to further gain and profit from local knowledge. Our third key risk, overcoming market dominance, has to be addressed on a different way for each one of the target markets, as they are on different development stages. For Uruguay, a growing market, we would suggest organic investments and direct operations of the stores. In a mature markets such as Brazil, we would also recommend organic investment, but focusing on Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities, especially on the highly attractive northern region. For a market with high barriers of entry such as Mexico, we would advocate for acquisitions. A possible target will be the market number 2, Soriana. Now I'll give the word to my colleague, Carlos.
Thank you, Eduardo. Okay, so besides the risks that we have seen previously, we also thought of 3 other risks Bicker AG should take into consideration when entering these 3 new markets. The first one is the informal economy. Why? Because small-scale independent supermarkets and traditional stores account for about 40% of the market share. These are businesses that have been able to hold their ground despite significant inroads made by large supermarkets. They not only form an integral part of Latin American culture, but they also know well the local needs and tailor their offerings to suit them best. Also, by relying on informal and illegal operating practices, they're able to provide lower prices to the emerging consumers. The next risk we identified is the real estate prices. Big urban cities in the 3 countries have rising high real estate prices, particularly in Mexico and Brazil. Real estate prices are one of the biggest investments when entering a new market, and prices can determine whether the investment will be profitable or not. Location and size are also important to target customers and obtain scalability, which can traduce in more sales. Last but not least, The regional differences that exist within big countries such as Brazil and Mexico can also be a risk. Companies must be able to offer different value propositions, modify their distribution and marketing strategies to address different consumer preferences and behaviors. They must also be able to generate strategic partnerships with local companies and governments and adjust their competition strategies as well.
Thank you for your attention.